The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of that galaxy and the center of our own galaxy, this is ForceCenter presents OtherCenter. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And we are getting all the words and syllables out of our mouths on an early Monday recording for us, releasing this episode Tuesday. As I'm saying these words, I'm thinking, how is my tongue moving? I've just had a relaxing weekend. Didn't want to get up. But you know what? To get up to talk a very fun topic was inspiring when that alarm hit this morning. We're going to talk about Las Vegas today. Oh, we have so many thoughts. Adventures in Vegas. We're going to dive in. Joseph just went inspiring this conversation. Before we get to all that, though, I want to remind you today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. A little bit later, we do have a ForceCenter recommends and OtherCenter recommends, an audiobook we think you should try out on us. That's not all. That's 1A down. We have the big Ask A, Joseph.
We do have a big ask. Get all those sounds out correctly on this Monday morning. We actually do have a huge ask because I'm just gonna be honest. It's full of hubris. It's shooting for a very, very difficult goal. We have had so much help on Patreon, and we appreciate it. We are turning our eyes back to YouTube. This has been an awkward, weird year for a lot of us, but definitely for people talking about pop culture. We made a big YouTube push. We had a bunch of other YouTube plans, and hey, the strikes happened. Reality happened. We've been slipping a little bit on YouTube, which is understandable. But if you are enjoying OtherCenter and you don't yet follow us on YouTube, it would help a ton if you subscribed on YouTube. And also, if you have friends who maybe they like Star Wars a little bit and maybe they don't even know what a Star War is, but you think they might be interested in hearing us talk about desserts and Vegas and nostalgia, you can also suggest to those kinds of friends to check us out on YouTube. We were at about 7,500 subscribers, and we've dropped a little bit. We would love to get up to 8,000 subscribers. Will we in the next couple of weeks? No. Sorry to not be inspiring, but I want to be honest. This isn't one of those, hey, everybody, can you pitch in? And by Thursday, that's not going to happen. I didn't want to, though, set a goal of like, oh, we want to get at 750. Can we get to 7,525? No, screw it. 8,000. Let's go for it. Let's see how many months it takes, if it can even happen at all. 8,000 subscribers. That's the goal.
That's a great goal. We're going to do it eventually. And eventually is still a goal. It's still a thing we're going to reach. Set your sights big, kids.
It's a big Vegas ask.
It's a giant ask. And we're going to get there. I'm excited. I'm with you. We're going to do this. Before we get into our main topic, we always like to catch up with life adventures. And well, last week, the life adventures involved this week's topic. It's all connected, and that's always fun. But I think we all have different kind of weekends in life adventures, and whether that's, I was almost going to say whether the Space Saga found you, which is our normal section. Anyways, Jen, save me. What found you this week?
I know. All my adventures revolve kind of around that or pop culture things. So let's see. Something that I did do was I took a deep dive. And I don't know if you guys know this name, Lisa Frank from the 90s, right? She had these really wild prints, vibrant colors, cute little animals. Well, the behind the scenes story of her company is, oh my gosh, like it's so dramatic. Really? So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that you would never guess with this cute little stationery company. And I took a deep dive. I'm looking at court documents, allegations, drug use. It's nuts. I mean, so anyways, I'm working on that for my videos, but I had a lot of fun. I was like, I don't know what the fascination is, but I'm also simultaneously reading a book called Monsters, discussing why we don't feel comfortable consuming art by people that are problematic, or how can we separate the art from the artist, right? And it's wrestling with that. That's what that book is about. And I'm kind of torn right now. And I'm still wrestling with whether or not I can support Lisa Frank. I think I can, but I'm not 100% sure because her husband was horrible. But I don't know if Lisa Frank herself was. Anyways, that was my deep dive this past weekend.
Those are important, vital deep dives. And I love when they're almost absurd, the contrast of like,
Yes.
like these unicorns and these puffy clouds.
Yeah.
But there's darkness behind the unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
I could.
Locking employees in the building? Like what?
What?
Well, yes, you guys. So crazy.
I'm in. I wanna watch
Right?
the video. I think you should do a feature-length YouTube talk on this. I think this would be your biggest viewed video ever. Like this is, I know so many people that know Lisa Frank in terms of the merch and the stuff, but like are obsessed with it in a weird way, right? Like a lot of certain generation, maybe about 10 years younger than me. A lot of my friends, they all have some ironic Lisa Frank merch that they own. This would be big, Jen. I want to find out about this. This is why I sit down and watch docs. The good.
Right. Me too. Yes. And supposedly there might be a documentary series coming out on her next year because I saw a producer for this production company saying, hey, I'm producing this documentary. Does any former employee have some stories to share? This was on Reddit. So, and you should have seen the people. There was tons of people. Yes. I have stories.
Go to Glassdoor reviews. That's amazing. I'm in.
I'm just picturing an actual unicorn responding, vaping through the interview to tell the truth.
You want to know drugs? I'll tell you about drugs at that place.
Oh gosh, that's good.
Wonderful. Well, I didn't have as exciting weekend as that. I did some other deep dives, but I'll keep those ones to myself. But I did get, we are very much. At ForceCenter here, it's about community and it's about fandoms and about people to come together and shared interests. And when that happens, when you're around a large community that you're a part of, you feel the vibes and you feel the joy. Joseph and I, not only, at conventions and celebrations, but we talk often about that night we went to the Lady Gaga concert. You just felt the energy of a community, energy of a community that feels safe being themselves around each other. I did get a chance to go to a little birthday celebration at this place called Heritage Square in LA off the 110 freeway, Pasadena-ish area. And it is a museum during the day. You can go and it's like a preserved little Victorian village. And there's houses, full on houses that have been preserved there over the years. It's pretty fascinating in its own right. But because of Halloween, it's rumored to be haunted. I will not confirm nor deny. But we had a birthday celebration. They put on a little I don't know, Halloween festival is the way I describe it, but a little fall festival, little vendors and crafts and everything. But it's very much goths and witches and all these things. So we went there and you just feel it, Grace was commenting several times, just the energy here is just it's people who feel safe within this little boundary of this museum grounds where we're having this thing. Yes, people are dressed up and not costumes, but just goths gone bold, just everyone themselves. I'm not goth by any means, but I have switched to mostly a black outfit, and I guess it makes Joseph and I goth adjacent. I don't know. It's put on the black jeans. It's comfortable and it looks good in photos. That's why I do it. But to be around all these other people, you really felt that. It felt that. It made me think of going to London. Made me think of the times in Anaheim, and how even though we're not fully engaged with that galaxy right now, that kind of energy we appreciate, the kind of energy we hopefully like to foster around here at ForceCenter and OtherCenter, unless I'm grumpy, is powerful and valuable, and so I love feeling it outside in our galaxy.
You're getting me excited for Halloween in general, but also Halloween in Los Angeles, where I just think there is such a festive goth community.
It's their time to shine. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's smiling because they're happy about the darkness that's coming. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great. Yeah. It's excited. We have some stuff up year round because when we first moved in together, it was close to Halloween. So we had a little party and she put some lights up and she says, I don't want to take these down. I said, well, honey, you don't have to take them down. Leave them up. So we have full on year round Halloween is in our house. So it's good.
That's awesome.
I have a seasonal little squirrel statue. The squirrel is, for some reason, got a wizard hat and is reading a book of horrible spells with bats on them. And I can't bring it to put the squirrel away.
He's got work to do year round.
He's got work to do all around. Yeah. Look at warlocks have work to do all year round. That's a warlock squirrel. I love what you're saying about community and just all the different places that you can find it. And sometimes you go somewhere where you are solidly 100% in the community of the people there, right? And then sometimes you're like, I'm a visitor. and I had a nice experience of that. My wife and I went to the Pantages Theater here in LA and saw Les Mis, which I was entirely ignorant about. Afterwards, she was like, what do you know? I was like, well, I know a couple of the parodies from this movie or that movie. I know that waving a flag is from Les Mis, and I've heard of Jean Valjean, but I didn't know he was from Les Mis. Yeah. It's like, I like and know about a lot of things, and other things I'd let myself just be ignorant. But anyway, long story short, that theater was packed with musical nerds and it just dressed to the nines in weird express yourself outfits, screaming for the lights that went down. You could feel and see sometimes people had their hands together while the performers were holding the last long note because they knew what bar it ended on and they were ready to go to start applauding for it. That was great. And the other thing we did this weekend, which was just a personal treat, we went to Descanso Gardens, which we've talked about a lot on the podcast. Beautiful gardens. My wife and I are members, so sometimes we're just like, it's only going to be open for another hour, but we just need to be in trees for an hour. So we went there, and this is a plug for our upcoming desserts episode. They have redone their little food market area, and they had one of the desserts that I listed as my favorites. So I took some pictures that I can put out once we put the episode out available to the public on Thursday. We're counting down a life ranked of our favorite desserts. So anyway, sitting just outside of the actual main gate, but you're still around nature, and I'm eating this treat that I'm liking, and this is great. And then I think because it is a snack area and because there are lots of humans around, a squirrel bounces out. I'm like, oh, that's great. I see a lot of squirrels there. But this squirrel is bold. Yeah. This is like college campus squirrel. So like I would say a foot from our feet, some probably child had spilled like a baggie of Cheerios. Right. And this squirrel very slowly walked past us. I moved a little bit and the squirrel tensed for a second and then let it go, walked right past us, and then for 5 minutes straight stood or sat right next to us, just destroying Cheerio after Cheerio. Oh, it was so close. I was able to watch the squirrel balance the Cheerio between their paws, because apparently that's not how their thumbs work, and ate the Cheerio so fast, like it looked like bad CGI. Parts of the Cheerio just disappeared. Just like because you couldn't, the mouth is going like mad, which I know, but to see it up close, it was one of those real life things where if you put that in a movie, everybody would go, that CGI is terrible. Those artists should be fired. Like, nope. That's just how a squirrel eats a Cheerio. So both my wife and I took an endless video of a squirrel eating Cheerios. Yeah. And it was glorious, except for I didn't know, like, is that too many Cheerios? Did that squirrel just wreck itself? Down, squirrely. Or is that a good meal,
Your love and appreciation of squirrels has been very present for a long time, and I'm right there with you on it. And I don't know what exactly it is. It's beyond just they're cute. Yes, they're cute. They're little animals. They're cute. There's just something about them. The way they work, the way they think. And I've run into some cantankerous squirrels. One in our backyard. I almost thought I was going to have to fight with an IKEA bag to protect a chihuahua. It was weird. I think I've shared the story before of my old roommate and I. We actually taught one to come across a plank into our apartment patio and eat from our hand. Which was great. But my early memories of going to Yosemite is hiking. As a kid, it felt like marching, hiking up to like Vernal Falls, and there's a big, giant kind of everyone peels off to eat type of area. And God, I just have memories of the squirrels just sitting there going, "You done with that sandwich?" Like we know you're done with that sandwich. And it just was fascinating as a kid. that these wild animals, because you're worried about bears and all these things at Yosemite. You read all these warnings, and there's these squirrels just like chowing down on a deli sandwich with you. No, I think that started my fascination with squirrels.
Yeah, for me it started as a comedy thing and then became a real thing. But part of it is just like that. Still, they're cute, but their movement is so like what it feels like to be a human with too much to do and with broken focus and with just a drive toward your basic needs. But then you know. If you're having like a busy day and you're like, I need to eat, but also I left something in the bedroom. I got to go to the bedroom. No, I need to eat. Where am I? What? And like, that's the squirrel's energy. And it's so delightful.
It's amazing. Well, ForceCenter, just around the corner. Well, we're going to dive into our main topic. Joseph's going to slide into the pilot's chair here as we talk about adventures in Vegas. I can't wait. You're going to have to stop me. Let's do it.
Oh, I can't wait to stop you. And as always, I don't know as much about Jennifer's adventures, so I can't wait to hear.
Some revelations coming.
Yes. You have our sound effect for a Landa revelation ready. All right, Ken?
I don't know if we're going to need it for this one. Oh, we'll see.
We'll find out. Yeah, so anybody who's been listening or watching any of my social media knows that I went there recently and had some fun talking about it both on air last week and off air with Ken and Jennifer. And then I was like, do you guys want to just talk about Vegas? And they're like, yeah. So we are going to talk about our adventures in Las Vegas. I've been doing some reading on the history of the casinos, but I am by no means an expert. I think Ken probably has some expertise on the history of the city, but we do want to give the kind of warning caveat that this podcast is about our personal adventures. It is not coming from an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of the Strip or of the actual city of Las Vegas. Sometimes when you chat about Las Vegas, you do hear about people who live in the actual real city that is not just the Strip. So we always want to give due respect to that reality and that experience. Just being very clear, this episode is about our relationship with going to the casino version of Las Vegas, our opinions and experiences with that. So having released our disclosures, let's dive in. Jen, I actually want to start with you. Growing up, when did you first become aware of Las Vegas? And did it sound magical and fun, frightening and adult? What was your childhood understanding?
I think I had two different versions of Vegas, which became a reality later. And so the first one was through my dad, who loved Frank Sinatra. And he would talk about that Rat Pack era of Vegas. So it sounded very magical. But like Ken, I also grew up in a religious household. And so my mom painted it like quote unquote Sin City.
Yeah.
And so I was just remembering it this morning. I had a real vivid idea that it was going to be like Treasure Island from Pinocchio and that I would turn into a donkey. I mean, not literally, but that bad things could happen to me and it would ultimately be my demise. So I was afraid of Vegas. So that was kind of my introduction. Those two, the glory days of Vegas and Treasure Island, scary Pinocchio.
As a child, did that make you want to go there? Like you wanted to sort of like peek under the bed at the scary thing? Or was it more like, stay away, please don't take me to Vegas?
No, it was scary. Maybe it was Pleasure Island. I can't remember Pinocchio. I was terrified. I didn't want to go. My parents took me when I was a kid. It was terrifying. I did not like it.
Okay, well,
we'll
put a pin
later.
in that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the first visit. This is so great. As we get into OtherCenter, I really love exploring the differences that you two had growing up on the West Coast from what I experienced in the Midwest. So, Ken, what was your experience of becoming aware of Vegas? Were you also warned that you would be turned into an animal by a sorcerer?
I think it was kind of warned later on. It's weird. So my relationship with Vegas was this. My mom, for a while as a kid, lived in Henderson. And as a kid, you don't understand that like Henderson is Vegas. It's a suburb. It's right there. It's all connected, right? It's, I just thought it was like, a town of, you weren't in Vegas. You lived in another town, but Henderson and Summerlin up the northern end, all kind of the same. It's like I live in LA. I live in Burbank. But therefore I knew about that place, but it was like my mom's part of her, and she didn't have a great childhood. So it was like, she moved around a lot. So some bad stuff going on. So it's like, that was just one, I knew it as a place that she stopped for a while and was chased by a scorpion. And she told me the story as a kid of like a scorpion chased me around like the backyard and like into the house. So it wasn't the sin that kept me away from Vegas. It was a thought of a scorpion chasing me for a long time, which might have been the devil himself. I don't know. So oddly enough, Jen's right. I grew up in a rather restrictive household and all those kind of things that come with it. But Vegas wasn't necessarily on that list. We just, as I've said before here many times, we just didn't travel as a kid. We went to Yosemite once a year, and I'm thankful for that trip. And I'm thankful my parents made that happen. We didn't have a lot of money, lower middle class. So we just didn't travel around. But one time with my late grandma and grandpa, I went up to Reno, and I think I thought that was Vegas because there was. I remember telling kids I've been to Vegas. Friends of mine, as I was like 10 years old, I went to Vegas. I went to Reno. I found out later on. So I didn't know much about it, but then one of my best friends in the middle of 7th grade moved to Las Vegas, and pre-social media, of course, so we lost contact. But then we got like into recontact. You both probably remember, but I hate to sound like the old guy talking to the kids out there, but you'd lose contact with friends, and all of a sudden, like out of the blue, 10 years later, like phone would ring and be like, "Hey, it's Sean. Is this Ken?" And you'd be like, "Whoa, what happened to you?" Like that's kind of it. Like you knew you maybe had a number, but you just drift off like you do. And so this happened, and in the summer of 92 into 93, or around that era. Me and a friend of mine who was like the other best friend in this like trio of friends, we drove out with his mom and his younger sister. We went to Vegas, and we stayed at my friend's house, and I got to go to the old strip and kind of go around. We got to see the Luxor being built. So I was actually fascinated, Joseph, when you're talking about the Luxor, like his mom stayed at Excalibur, and the Luxor was being built next door. So I saw the frame of that being built. And that was it. And I was kind of like, I went to Vegas. I did it. And then later on, we'll get into the details, but I went with a friend in 2005, and that really started my love affair with it.
Okay, excellent. Seeing the Luxor skeleton, I hope you took some Polaroid pictures.
I do have a lot of photos, but none of that. I think, I have to look. It's mostly me and my two friends wearing U.S. Olympic basketball dream team jerseys. Because so,
oh, that is great. Yeah, in the I'm loving that for you both. When you were quite young, it was scary, weird, fantasy place, but your physical proximity probably brought you to it sooner. My family did not travel for travel's sake, but as I've mentioned before, when I was quite young, my parents decided to move from Brainerd, Minnesota, which is a smaller town. It's a little bit bigger now, but it's kind of a up north by lakes resort town. But a small town. At the time I lived there, the Sears was just an outlet where you could go and order things from the catalog and maybe look like a washer. So they decided out of the blue to move to Portland, Oregon, and we drove out there. This is also very kids. It wasn't the same. I just sat in the front seat with no seatbelt, or in of a U-Haul, or in the played around in the back of a station wagon. So we drove out to Portland, and I saw some things like, the ocean and Haystack Rock. And then we drove back, and then we were locked in lovely, wonderful Minneapolis, but we didn't leave then. So it was almost worse that my parents gave me like a taste of the West Coast, a taste of different vistas and adventures, and then nothing for a very long time, which made things even more magical. And I've said it about Los Angeles, but Las Vegas was the same, of like, that's, I know it's a real thing. Like the moon is a real thing, and apparently people have been there, and maybe I could go there, but it was so far away and so magical. Obviously you hear about it just on TV shows or whatever. So it's sort of a cultural reality that there's this place with lots of, neon and the lights look cool. I like that. But my real solid memory of learning that Las Vegas existed and asking questions about it is my grandma, who frankly I think had a gambling problem, but she had this lowball whiskey glass from the MGM Grand, and it's kind of burned in my memory. And I was like, this morning I was like, I'm gonna make sure I didn't make that up. So there's the existing MGM Grand, which was apparently built in the early 90s, but there was an earlier one that was a different hotel, rebuilt, renovated like everything in Vegas, in the late 70s, early 80s, and rechristened the MGM Grand. And clearly now backtracking and realizing what my grandmother was doing and saying, she always wanted to go to the hotels and the casinos when they were brand new, so she could, say, I was there at the beginning, which is a pretty accurate impression of the way my grandmother in her cigarette stained voice spoke. So it's so fascinating that this is the lowball whiskey glass that I obsessed over. And I think I asked to drink my orange juice out of it. So I found it on eBay. It's real. It says MGM Grand Hotel, Las Vegas. It has got a film strip motif. And then there's a picture of a cartoon lion at an old school film camera filming something and smoking a giant cigarette. And I clearly was like, that lion's cute, and wanted to drink out of that. And my grandma would be like, that's from Vegas. And, talk to me about how great Vegas was. So it was just this magical place where cartoon lions directed films and smoked cigarettes that I wanted to go to. And then, we could talk about more, but as I got older, and really wanted to go to different places and all that, I, became obsessed with Sinatra and Sam Davis Jr., Dean Martin, that entire era. And I read a ton about early Vegas, and I became obsessed with a place I could never go to, this romance with a version of Vegas that is already gone that I can never really visit. We'll talk about it more, but spoiler, I think I was wrong to think that way. I think I had a little bit of I kind of want to go there, but it won't be the Vegas that I fell in love with. And I think I was wrong. And I'm excited to talk about it more, but I wanted to put that out there. So yes, for me, it was the two-step of the weird childhood version of it, only through my grandma's whiskey and cigarette glasses. And then as a young man, being kind of hipster about it, of I guess I'll go to Vegas, but it's not real Vegas. I was totally wrong. Anyway, we're going to get into our first trip. Ken, you shared a little bit of seeing the Luxor skeleton with your buddies. I want to hear more about that. But Jennifer, let's bounce back to you. Let's take the pin out. And that first Vegas trip for you, what was it like?
I think I was young. Well, not that young, maybe 9 or 10. And I don't even really remember where we stayed. Although now that you're talking about these hotels, I'm like, oh, that's right. I think I did stay at the Mirage. I remember seeing the Siegfried and Roy posters everywhere, which were like, what is that? There's a tiger, oh my goodness. It just was so flashy. And I remember going to Circus and it was like Pinocchio come true. And I'm like this, and I hated clowns. I had a fear of clowns as a kid, and it just was overwhelming. And I don't know if I was scared in Vegas, but I did not like it. It was, the smells of the casinos with the cigarettes, the crowds, the sounds, the plinking. It was too much. It was like sensory overload. I guess I'm kind of a sensitive kid. I don't know. I left and I was like, I don't want to ever go back here again. And my parents, they don't gamble. So I think we went to some shows. I know we went shopping, and it's been a long time. There was I think an outlet mall. I don't even know, but it was not a great experience.
That's fascinating, because you're sort of ground zero, as I understand it, of the expansion from Vegas of this adult only playground. I was watching a behind the scenes thing on a movie that happened in Vegas, talking with one of the wait staff at the Flamingo, and you're saying there used to be kids here in the lobby waiting to be picked up by a babysitter because they weren't coming into anything the adults were doing. And then my understanding that there was a hey, well, we could get even more business with families, and Circus being the one that opens that up and tries to make things friendly to kids.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Didn't work for me.
For young Jennifer Landa and the neon clowns.
I was really skeptical. I felt like they were like Vegas was trying to trick me and trick everyone there into obviously gambling, spending money, and it just felt like there were predators all around.
Scorpions and clowns.
Predators trying to get me. It just felt wrong. And I remember I was a stick in the mud and I was not happy. And my parents, I don't think, took me for a few more years after that.
How old were you?
Yeah, I think it was like 9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have no problem expressing my displeasure with something. Even now, it makes people's lives miserable.
Well, your father was a journalist, right? He must have been proud that his 9-year-old daughter was like, I see through the facade. All of this is just that clown's trying to reach into my pocket and take my lunch money.
Yeah, I was like, I'm on to you, people. I'm on to you.
That's great. That's great. I want to extend this question from our first visit to the visit where it clicked and you enjoyed it. So let's go to there for you, Jennifer. I'm curious to see how you turned it around.
I don't think I have.
Yeah.
After I started sitting down, I was like, yeah, Vegas sounds like a fun topic. And then I was like, I don't think I've ever had any positive experiences in Vegas.
So, when did you go back then? When did you go back and experience it as an adult with full knowledge that, yes, it is a facade trying to take money from you?
I feel like I've gone quite often throughout my life for various things, weddings, family weddings, which is always an experience, right? And after I was 8 months pregnant, going to a wedding, which just was it was hard. It was really hard going there. So I don't think it ever really turned around. There was one visit where I went to the old school part of it, right? With the Golden Nugget, the Golden Horseshoe, like that area. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And we went to some steakhouse. I'm not a big steak person, but we went to some old steakhouse where like the servers were all, like 60 years old. That to me,
yeah,
exactly. I was like, okay, I like this part of Vegas, but I didn't really get a chance to explore that as much. But I can't wait to hear about your guys' stories, because you were sharing that restaurant, Joseph, that you went to that Ken had recommended. I'm like, that's the Vegas I want to go to. That looks like fun.
Yeah, no, and I think there's the old Vegas, downtown Vegas, the Fremont experience. I think where there's more stuff like that, but I think it's kind of peppered throughout. But yeah, I think there is a lot. That's part of the reason I think I was wrong. To just be like, it's all flashy and new now. That there are plenty of experiences like that to be found. And I think, and very much for the recommendation for the Pepper Mill. Oh,
the Pepper Mill, that's it.
Pepper Mill. It was so great. Ken had described it like it was the Rainforest Cafe, but kind of dark, and that was exactly what it was. When you have this low ceilings, why do you have fake trees in here? I don't know. It's great, but it's beautiful.
They're everywhere. Everywhere. I love it.
They're everywhere. It's so great. So Ken, you went. Your first experience was. It sounds kind of wholesome that you went to reconnect with a buddy. And what were you, like 14, 15?
Around that time, summer '92 would be that range. Going into I think my junior year of high school. Around that time, so. Time has no meaning. But it was, again, we all had the Dream Team jerseys on, so that was the Olympics of 1992. And Jen, I'll say this: I'm not saying we need a ForceCenter field trip pronto. I turn a lot of people on Vegas, like people who go. Grace used to hate it. Loves going to Vegas with me now. So and I'm not. By the way, like Joseph, not an expert. I love the history of it too. I've watched all those videos and read all those books. I do love that. It's a weird fascination, and that goes into some stuff we might talk about, but that we all share. If you love the city, but and I have a lot of family. My uncle lives there now. Two of my cousins live out there. I've been to the suburbs. So to take it back, going back to kind of what Jen was talking about too, is how I was raised and all that stuff. When I did go on this trip, my mom wasn't with me. And so it was a hard challenge for her. And so she kind of trying to be nice to mom, as she often does and tries to do still, put put a lot of fear into me of things that could go wrong. And watch for this. So, we're at the Subway. We're staying at my friend's house. That wasn't, we weren't like a casino, but we did go down. We went to Fremont Street when you could still drive on it. I remember driving down it. Now, of course, you can't. It's enclosed and all that stuff. And then we went on, the new strip and we're at Caesars. We went into Caesars. I remember all that stuff. I remember that at one point we walked onto, Vegas Boulevard, and like my friend's dad or stepdad was like, hey, once we're on that sidewalk, watch out. People might start screaming at you and someone like honked. I'm like, hey, kids. Or something. And I just remember my mom was right. I got to get out of here. So, but it was dreamy, right? It was just like, it was something you're going to go back and tell, even though I think we're 6-7 hours away from where I lived up my hometown. It was like I got to experience it. Like other friends of mine were like, I went to New York City and all this kind of stuff. So that was then, but it was like a dream, right? I didn't really remember all the details. Still don't. But it was a little bit later on. We'll get into some more details because I think it factors into some of the other parts of our conversation. But I was, here I am, mid 20s, and haven't done a lot of traveling. Still a very sheltered kid, living on his own in LA with some roommates. But a friend of mine, we're driving along. I still remember we're on the freeway here in LA. He's about 10 years older than me, and he turns to me and goes, "What are you doing this weekend?" Nothing. He goes, "Great, we're going to Vegas." And that caused so much panic and stress and anxiety in me because up until then, I didn't know. Without my parents, I couldn't try. Like family vacations was the only form of quote unquote vacation I understood. So it was like, well, we can't go. My mom hasn't made the reservation yet. What are you talking about? and also then beyond that, just like today's Thursday, you want us to leave Friday to Vegas? And I'd seen the movie Swingers, but I didn't. That's not real. You don't just get in your car and drive there. And he was like, yeah, great, cool, we'll go. I'll cover the costs. We're good. And we stayed at the Riviera. We stayed there for like 2 days. And that started the fascination with it. But beyond that, and gets in some of the issues here, I'll just say in summary, like as a sheltered kid, and that isn't a swipe at my parents. And it's how I grew up in a small town and just a fearful, quiet kid, didn't drink till later, didn't all these kind of things, which none of those things are bad. But I sometimes still, like if you hear me talk about airports, the reason I'm kind of so almost proud that I'm good at airports is because I never thought I'd be in one. And so I kind of have this like thought of like, I did it. Like if Joseph asked me for Vegas advice, it isn't me going, let me help you. It's me going, Joseph, can you believe I went? My mom said, don't go. And I went there at 47. I'm still dealing with that crap. So that started it. And I had my friend who had been a lot. He was the one and we did early Vegas. He woke up at 6 a.m. to get the buffet. We didn't stay out late. He's like, there's 5 ways to do Vegas. We're doing it my way. We're doing the early gamblers Vegas. And that kind of began how I looked at the city, the ways to do things, the unwritten rules, all these kind of things, which are complete BS really when you look at it, but it's just fun.
Yeah, but it's also, I think, a great way to approach it, to not say, hey, I don't know how to do this city, but rather the city is a choose your own adventure of how do you want to do Vegas is very much a great way to approach it. Very much. And I think open up enjoyment of it.
So Jen, you gotta find out how you want to do Vegas. All right.
Yes. I want the Ken Napzok guide. That sounds great.
Set your alarm early. We're going to the Riviera buffet.
We're starting at Circus. No, there's clowns everywhere. Ken and I share, I think, some similar stuff in our upbringing. In a way, for me, it's difficult because my parents were adventurous in my youth, so they like instilled that in me, and then they're like, "Nah, we've taught you to want these things. Now let's pile some fear into you so you can't ever have them." But it produced a similar thing of I wanted to be jet set when I was 6, and I had this good experience of around 2010. I was going along having a good artistic life in Minneapolis, but still kind of having that someday I'll go more places. And I did a couple of shows outside of Minneapolis, did a Chicago Improv Festival. But my friend Bill Corbett reached out to me to do a show in San Francisco. And I didn't realize it, but it was like I was sitting around waiting for somebody else to, invite me to actually go see the world. And like really everything that I have done since flowed out from that, because it was like, yeah, it's just another city. It's expensive. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing to be scared of. It's expensive to travel, and not everybody can do that. But anyway, so it was a relatively quick snowball from that one invitation to do one show in a different city with Bill to my wife and I going, we should move to Los Angeles. And we drove in our little Toyota Yaris. We made the drive from Minneapolis. We left Minneapolis at like 8 in the evening or whenever, got to Iowa. And then from Iowa, we got to Colorado and then slept there. And then from Colorado, we made it to Vegas. And that was actually, it was the logical place to stop. And, we didn't like pull in and, stay at the Park MGM. It was outside of the strip that we just stayed in a kind of abandoned hotel with like our car and one other car in the parking lot, and with a ton of our belongings in it that we were a little afraid of. And then we got up in the morning, and so it was a really interesting time to explore Vegas because we were moving to LA. By the end of that day, when we got up in the morning, we would arrive at our new apartment in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And Sarah's like, it would be faster to just, jump on this freeway, but do you want to go down the strip? And I was like, yes, I want to see if there's any, that's, I've never been to Vegas, but I have, my ears have been there hours and hours and hours with live albums. And my imagination has been there, and books I've read have been there, and shows I've watched have been there, and movies are like, I have been there in my imagination, like it's a, distant planet from a made up galaxy. Like, yes, I need to drive down it. This is what we're doing. We are exploring the world now, as much as money and time will allow. So we didn't get out because we're both like, we have half of our belongings in our car. We just need to get where we're going. Yeah. But we drove down the strip and I saw that just bonkers explosion of fake Paris, fake New York, neon clowns. And we come to an intersection and the cross street is Frank Sinatra Drive. And it was like, he's still here. Yeah. His presence is still here. And I, pulled out my phone and took a bunch of blurry pictures of Frank Sinatra Drive. And like, as we were pulling away, I really was like, all right, Vegas, I'll be back.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then
go ahead, Ken.
And you have returned.
I have returned. And I feel like kind of in two steps. Did a convention, the Wizard World convention, where we stayed up by the convention center in a little bit outside of town, but I wandered around a bit with you, Ken, and that was great. Yeah. That was a great Vegas experience, but it wasn't like both feet all the way in.
Right.
For me yet. It was sort of like, I'm coming along and I'm seeing some things, but I'm observing and I'm not, bothering everybody, but like, I need to go to the Venetian to see where the Sands was. Like, I just kind of went along with it. And then we had the fun weekend, and then driving out of Vegas, I drove over a screw. I got an immediate flat tire, had to pull over. And this was like kind of sad, blinky eyed, like 3 p.m. It feels like the entire city is hungover on Sunday, everyone limping back to LA. And I looked up and I realized, what street did I get screwed on? I got screwed on Dean Martin Drive, literally. And it was sort of like, this is perfect. I wanted to experience the fun Vegas and sad Vegas.
Yes.
And it was perfect.
I remember that. I remember that. I don't think I found out till we got back, right? In our next recording session or something. You were like, I didn't get out of town fast.
Yeah, no, I didn't get out of there. It took a while to get out of there. Yeah. And then this last trip, we'll talk more about to go see the Lady Gaga show. I went, with my wife Sarah, and that was like, she was all in of like, I know half of this trip is your obsession with the past and what remnants are left, and that was nice. I didn't want to burden the people I was with when I visited with Ken. I just wanted to see it through their eyes, and that was a great two-step process to get to know it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So we can, of course, continue to talk about some of our specific experiences, but I want to talk in this first half here, as we're wrapping up the first half, about kind of how we wrestle with Vegas, how we summarize it or make sense of it. There is, I think, a balance of the fun and the excitement of it with, hey, gambling is addictive. And I loved my stay at Luxor, and I really like ancient Egypt stuff. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, no, I can see some people being like, yeah, this is cultural appropriation, for the sake of capitalism. There is still people having a hard time in Vegas. All these contrasts. Ken, we should maybe end with you, but I'm going to start with you because I think you've maybe spent the most time wrestling with this. How do you make sense of all of the contrasts of Vegas?
I think you have to acknowledge them and acknowledge, like with anything, like I love getting a drink. Last night before my comedy show, I had a whiskey, and it's like that is a simple, fun act for me. That's a potentially devastating act for someone else, right? And you have to be aware of all sides of it, and therefore, I think you could kind of start from a respectful point. There's an absolute dark side to Vegas, just like there's a dark side to Hollywood and all these cities. And my friend who took me there, he was honest about that. He was like, "You'll see this city do things to people that they would never think possible." And it can break them. The city could break them, right? He's giving me this. He loved having a good dramatic streak in him. My old friend Brian, and sure enough, we check in the Riviera, which again isn't there anymore, but it's one of the classics. And we checked in, and we're walking around, and he goes, "Look, see, I told you." And down at the end of the hall, there's a guy at the edge of like a little stairwell, head in hands, and he's crying. And I don't know, and he's like that like drunk, hair messed up, like bawling. And to this day, we don't know. But my friend was like, I told you, the city will break you. You got to be careful with it. And so it sounds like I'm being over dramatic, but I remember just having that, like, okay. And so then we went out, we had already checked in. We go to the casino floor, and Jen, you talk about that sound. That's one of my favorite sounds in the world. The two favorite sounds in the world are a fire engine going through an intersection and the horn blaring and casinos. And the moment I hear that clink, 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 and everything, I light up. And so we go over to a Wheel of Fortune slot machine, and my friend puts in $20, presses the button, he wins 60. And I'm thinking, wow, this is great. So I was a little, not as, I was thinking I was making $8 an hour back then. So I pull out a 20, and I'm like, my turn. He goes, don't do it. I go, I got to do it. He goes, all right. And I put in that 20, and 4 spins, I was done. And he's like, this town will break you. Watch it. Watch your limits. Watch your limits. And that kind of began my obsession, combined with my little bit, just the way I was raised. I'm trying to be less negative about it. I'm working through some stuff too. Like it's not so much it was sheltered. It was just how my parents thought they wanted to protect me and raise me. And I don't fault them for that at the core of the issue. I think there was some mistakes made. But because of that upbringing, so it was just to see this and to feel like I was connected to it. I still go back to that every time I'm there. It is about what you want to do. Do you want to do shows? Do you want to go here? Do you want to gamble? Like, I'm not much of a gambler. I actually don't do a lot of that stuff. I love my slots, love video blackjack, but I don't spend a lot of time doing it. I love watching people, and I love seeing people discover their limits, shrink back from their limits, not understand their limits, not know why they're here. Being here from a wonderful Midwest city, coming out to this mythical Vegas, and you just see them with their fanny packs walking along going, what the hell is this? Versus the other people kind of going a little too crazy. And I just love observing all that. And that's always been the balance of it for me. I myself push myself in little areas, I don't like to fall down drunk, but, a little sheltered Kenny, I'll just say it here. We don't talk about this much in ForceCenter. I knew I would reach a new level when I was in an entertainment club, we'll say, and I recognized one of the dancers from LA. I was like, this is not this isn't how I was raised. I had one fantastic night where it was a bachelor kind of party situation. My friend was getting married. He actually we did the chapel thing with Elvis marrying them type of vibe. And we went to one of these clubs, and one of the dancers comes with me and says, what do you want to dance? And I was like, nah, I promised my girlfriend back home I wouldn't. So she goes, great. So she sat down on my lap. She goes, can I have your Red Bull? Yeah. And we sat and we talked about everyone in that club. She gave me the lowdown on everyone. There's that kind of guy who does this. There's this kind of guy we watch for that. And it was just, that's the kind of Vegas in a nutshell for me. I don't necessarily want to taste all the sins. I just want to understand what's going on and have fun with that. And it's not something I ever thought I'd do. So that's what I get out of it.
No, I like it. I love the acknowledgement and being a participant and a student at the same time, which is, I think, a great way to approach it. Let me share. We'll close out this first half with Jen. I think for me, I think it's so vital that we allow ourselves to see things as multifaceted. And some things, when it maybe comes to something like a political decision, it shouldn't be multifaceted. Right. It's like, let's all do the right thing. But I think things that are, big, bizarre creations of humanity, they're going to be multifaceted. And when I kind of took the tour of modern Vegas with you, Ken, and we did some of what you're talking about. One of my favorite things was we just sat in one of the casinos and just watched people go by, just sipping expensive drinks. And I was led to believe they were cheap. Not anymore. And watch people go by. That was great. All that stuff. And I think I thought a little bit of like, wow, this is just, this town is like sad, dirty Disneyland. And I hadn't yet had a great time at Disneyland either at that point because I hadn't allowed myself to have something be multifaceted. And I think, Vegas is, I would revise it to adult Disneyland, even though you can dump your kids at circus and all that. It still is an adult playground. And I think what they kind of share in common is, at their core, in my opinion, there is a fairly thinly veiled, almost naked, shimmering see-through gown honesty of grasping capitalism with almost no apology and almost no veneer. Right. You can look at them that way, but they both also have utter magic to them. Don't want to spend a bunch of time on Disneyland because of the strikes, but we can all talk about the storytelling and the magic and the fun and blah 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 blah. And to me, really embracing Vegas the same way I embrace the theme parks of, this is a city of constant evolution, constantly trying to find the best way to get you to come in and gamble, or if you're not going to gamble, spend money on a roller coaster or a gondola tour, anything. Just give us your damn money. At the same time, it is this sort of magic of the playground of this entire area given a way to, go ahead and have fun. Go ahead and do something. Maybe you shouldn't, and try not to break yourself in any way. But have a drink at 10 a.m. Eat way too much at the buffet. Put $5 in that Frankenstein slot machine, knowing you're absolutely gonna lose it. Go ahead, have a little bit of fun. The just sort of the indulgence mixed with the honesty, the sort of the class and the crass. That is what has made it really appealing and charming to me. And, I think the part of myself that is an extrovert and that wants things loud and noisy and fun and what's going to happen next, it just loved fully embracing Vegas and being in it. And we were only there for like a day and a half, and we've maybe slept for 3 hours, and we fit in a lot of adventure. And then we drove to the Hoover Dam. Beautiful, natural. Well, it's not natural. Part of it was nature. Part of it was amazing human engineering. But I had a hard time transitioning to Hoover Dam because, like, where's the noise? Where's the blinking lights? Why isn't the Hoover Dam trying to get more money out of me? I missed the noise and the chaos. And I understand if you do it too long, it's too much and it can break you and all that. But that to me was the appeal of, like, saying, I want noise and I want chaos and I want to be in the middle of it.
People like a lot of times people, when I go visit my hometown or where the traffic's getting worse up there, but I'll go to a quiet spot. People are like, isn't this great? I'm like, yeah, after 3 days, I need to go to a freeway and I need to sit. Like, it's weird. Not everyone in LA is like that, but I have that weird vibe. And Jenna, we're definitely going to get you in here and try to get to the bottom of Vegas with you here. But there's something you're digging into the theme park aspect of it, Joseph, which I think is correct. Both of those kind of environments have done a great job of marketing the lack of boundaries, right? Some of them might be in family, fun, and get that turkey leg and Dole Whip, and you're here to have a fan. In fact, planes don't even fly over it. We control the airspace so that you can be whisked away to this land with only your imagination to keep you in. And Vegas the history of it is fascinating. It's a little dark, obviously. It's rich with things, and I think there's this trying to sell what that was, even if it's a the stroller era that a lot of people might complain about, the old Vegas people of they started bringing in the casinos for the strollers, that kind of stuff. It's still, to me, marketed like, come here, just like they did back then, the dangerous mobsters, the Hollywood elite, come here and just live that life, just your wildest imaginations. And I don't know, there's something fun about it. One of the last times I was there, we were going around having fun, casino, getting some drinks. And one of our friends, I'll keep their identity very hidden, got so sick. And we were all in a casino, Park MGM. And all of a sudden she got so sick, she projectile vomited through her hands all over the casino floor.
Sorry.
It's one of the funniest moments in our lives. And it was and she was mortified, totally mortified, understood. But we were like, nah, no one cares. And no one batted an eye. No one batted an eye. A maintenance person came over and just kind of, here we go again. And we cleaned her up and helped her go to the bathroom. Grace swooped in and was really supportive. But I just remember telling her, like, nah, you're not alone here. In fact, the evening carried on as normal. Like, half our group wouldn't even leave their blackjack table because they're like, they threw up. Yeah, it's cool. And there's something about that I like. I'm not suggesting everyone gets so drunk they throw up in public, but it's just don't worry. This has happened before. It will happen again. You're just part of the cog.
Yes.
Just enjoy.
Yeah. It's just all those contrasts, staying at the Luxor. It's like it's half trying to convince you you're in ancient Egypt, and that that extreme theming is not as popular, so they're also trying to back it off. So you're like, I'm in ancient Egypt, and Carrot Top is doing a show, and you expect me to be excited about both. And I'm gonna say this and pitch it to you, Jen, because your story is just reminding me, Ken. When we were in line to get our reservations to go up in the room, we got there at about midnight on a Saturday night. In the line to get in to pick up the hotel, your room key was super backed up, and there were strollers, and there were just frankly dad bods in in t-shirts, and then there were a group of like maybe 4 women dressed like the fanciest, amazing, ready to party. Here in this ancient Egypt lobby, they're pumping Sweet Caroline. And the bop 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 sing along comes in the women dressed to the nines reach into their purses and pull out just huge bottles of vodka, and one of them goes bop bop bop, pumping the vodka in the air and drops it on the floor and it's shattered.
Oh my gosh.
Amateur.
And, Sarah and I were singing along like, Sweet Caroline, drop your booze. But it was like, that's where we are. That's what it is. All right, Ken, Jen, now that Ken and I have gone on and on, as you wrestle with maybe you want Vegas in your life and maybe you don't, how do you define it for yourself, make sense of it?
She's hearing her going, I'm out. Barf, vodka spilled everywhere. What are you talking about?
Oh God, it's bringing me back so many memories of just feeling like I'm cattle when I'm there. It's an idea of what I'm supposed I'm supposed to be enjoying this. I'm supposed to be having fun. You're supposed to go to the pool and hang out and see and be seen. And it's just gross. And I'm supposed to go to this club and it takes forever to get in and they charge you money. And it's just this horrible music and guys are just trying to talk to us. And it's just like, oh God, I can't even hear anything anyways. Then you're just trying to hang out with your friends afterwards. It's like 3 a.m. and you're eating at some random place in a casino and a group of really drunk guys come over and just sit with you. So much so I have photos of this guy who passed out between my friend and I. Like my friend and I are just like, it's like Weekend at Bernie's, like, hey. Because at some point you have to just laugh. And so you're like chatting with this guy and I mean, what can you do? Right. So I think that's what I wrestle with is I love the Vegas that I see on screen. Ocean's 11, Swingers. I think they went to Vegas, Swingers, right?
Vegas, baby.
Like Poker Face, that show. Sorry, I'm mentioning all these things. But that to me is the Vegas I find fascinating. Seeing a true Hollywood story, right, about the Rat Pack and getting that underbelly or the other side. But I don't want to necessarily experience it myself. Although Ken, this sounds like a really fun time actually being in that dance club and getting the firsthand story from this person. Like, I think the whole thing I wrestle with is that Vegas doesn't feel personal. So Disneyland, even though it is this gigantic, billion-dollar company, whatever, when I go to Disneyland, it feels personal. I have personal memories, not just because I work there, but we all have these personal memories connected to these stories. And I think that's with Vegas. It just doesn't, I don't feel any connection to it. And I just feel like literally assaulted at every turn. And
sorry to laugh, but it's the truth of it. And I'm really glad you're bringing your perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I've had some fine experiences, but it's just, I know when I'm there, I know, unless I'm 8 months pregnant, like I know what to expect and what's going to happen. And yeah, the fun is that when you're in Vegas, it stays in Vegas, but you know what? Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe people should still like have some sort of decorum, in certain things, like whatever, you're going to get blackout drunk. Okay. That's fine. I mean, we've all been there, perhaps. Maybe not everyone, but some of us have. I prefer to do that on the Sunset Strip.
Nice, wholesome Sunset Strip.
Exactly right. No, but I mean, I don't know. So that's what I wrestle with.
Look, this is fascinating. First of all, yes, you're sharing some very real experiences, part of the darkness that can be found anywhere. And that's exactly a very real thing. And as I'm hearing you describing this, not to discount any feelings or emotions you have, negative emotions on the situations, those are all very real and true. But I'm making a list. I'm like, mistake number 1, mistake number 2. I see what Jen's doing wrong here. I see when she went to Vegas. I see who she went to Vegas with, and she didn't go with the right people. And all those things you're talking about, which are valuable for the theme park side of it, you can find them there. Again, it's not for everyone. I think you're representing a large, not just with your own experiences, but you're probably representing a large portion of our listeners who have been there and are like, yeah, not for me. And I'm not here to convince anyone otherwise. I'm here to tell you all those things that you're talking about, I think are available. I think we connect. It's who you're with. It's everything you're describing is absolute hell. I love going. It's all passed through Caesars. There's always that bar the bar you were talking about is in Caesars. It's the open air bar in the center. And there to the left of that is a giant club area. And it is cattle. And it is everyone chasing some glamour that they're never going to get.
Right.
And that's true anywhere. Right? Go to a Hollywood club, we've all been there. We've all been there where we're like in line and you just look at the people with, you're like, what are we doing? Like, I can't even, and I'm probably not even going to get in. So anyways, I feel for you. Now we need OtherCenter field trip, and we're going to go to the Peppermill at 6 p.m. We're going to go to the Fireside Lounge next door. You're going to have a nice cocktail. Then we're going to go watch some people. We're going to make some fun of some people. You're going to lose some money. One of us might projectile vomit in the middle of the casino, but then you'll have an intimate memory connected with that. We'll have a shared journey of the time the bar went across the floor.
Yes. Give me a dive bar in Vegas. I mean, I love dive bars. I love mom and pop places.
Yeah, double down, and be careful. Bring someone big and tough with you. But
but there is also that there. I love that you're able to articulate that personal connection, and I think that knowing that you share a love of that era and that Sinatra at the Sands, like there's a mob museum that gets into that I haven't been to, but people say is amazing. I had such a great experience at the Golden Gate Casino, which is a place that they used to hang out. They got pictures of them everywhere. Wow. And there's it's kind of fun to haunt, to look for those ghosts that like they're a little bit of remnants. And I think that's why I enjoyed the trip so much, is because I felt exactly what you were talking about, a way into that, because I'm much in the wrong place to think that I'm going to get the excitement by going to some cattle club. I don't want to be there, but I found that personal connection. And I also think just always looking at it with a sense of, to me, irony and comedy, because it's everywhere. I had such a great time at that Golden Gate Casino, which is, one of the ones in the Fremont Experience, one of the original ones.
Oh.
And I went to and everything there is kind of branded of, this is where it all started. The Rat Pack drank here after their shows, but in the men's room, like in many bathrooms, there's a giant mirror, but it's set up so the mirror is reflecting a huge line of urinals. And on the mirror, they have this phrase that what happens in Vegas all started right here. Which they mean to celebrate the casino, but you're just literally looking at a line of men urinating. And it's just like, that's Vegas to me, of like trying to be classy, but there's always men urinating. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
All right, we're going to take a go ahead, Ken.
No, just saying, fantastic. I'm packing. I'm going to start reserving a room right now.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to broadcast the second episode live from Vegas. We're going to talk about some of our experiences that we've had, even more Vegas experience faves, back in a moment.
Welcome back to ForceCenter presents and prevents OtherCenter. I'm preventing you from making mistakes in Las Vegas. That's what we're doing here. We're having adventures in Vegas. Before we get back to the conversation, I want to recommend an audiobook for you to try out. You can download this free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter and helping us out. And today we're recommending one time only, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson, narrated by Ron McLarty. It's on Audible. You can read the infamous and famous book, stories about fear and loathing in Las Vegas, and a whole lot more. I guess I should put an age recommendation on that. I don't know. Check it out on us by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. All right, Joseph, we're going to go into some favorites here as we continue our Vegas conversation.
That is right. And we can amend this to favorite or interesting for Jennifer. So, Ken, we'll start with you, though. What is your favorite hotel you've stayed at? Because you have stayed at many. I have stayed at many. And I've almost been to the toppermost of the poppermost, but I've also stayed at the lower level ones. I was trying to think, I loved my time at Park MGM, and I've been at the Venetian. I've been at the Paris, which is interesting. Once I finally got to Paris, I was like, oh yeah, they didn't really capture it. It's impressive, but not the same.
That's right.
I've been on 2 Eiffel Towers in my life. I'm going to go with one that is off. It's between the Fremont and the New Strip, across from the Rio. It's called the Gold Coast Casino. It's horrible, and I love it. I think you go there now. We can get rooms for $40 a night, maybe. And I've been to that casino more than any other casino, because for about 6-7 years, I was a member of something called the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is a pro wrestling alumni association and kind of charitable organization. So you become a member, and every year they throw like a 2-night banquet, but it's really like a 4-day event. They have some wrestling shows. There's like a mini kind of convention nostalgia wing, but it's really about these 2 banquets. And it's for years, they have social locations, but for years it was at the Gold Coast Casino. And you talk about the sounds we love and everything. That's great. But do you love 50-year-old cigarette smoke smell? This is your casino. Do you love just seeing someone who should not be chain smoking with oxygen and a wheelchair, and they're all day at the blackjack table? This is your casino. The only form of entertainment is a 24-hour Fridays restaurant. It's not good, but it's got a bowling alley. Oh, I did that once. That was fun. It's got a great little coffee shop that I go every morning and have my routine there. And every year I'd go there and essentially be there for 5 days, like Sunday through Thursday. And it's my favorite because it is all those things. And I don't mean to make fun of anyone, but you are watching Vegas as it is in the daylight, versus like Jen, you're experiencing the clubs and the dresses and the lines and the a-holes and all that kind of stuff. There's that. This is the next morning, and the people who have done that for 40 years, and it's spectacular. And it felt like home, including the staff, the wait staff. Like you'd still see the same people there for like 7 straight years. You almost get to know them. And old dusty dirty sports book, all that kind of stuff, I love the fancy stuff. I love the faux luxury of a Vegas casino, but there was something I actually miss about that Gold Coast casino.
That sounds great. I'm definitely putting that on the list. Jennifer, where have you stayed when you've been in Vegas?
I think I know I've stayed at the Luxor because I remember the walls like you shared, I think, in your photo. They're like slanted. So the Luxor, I think I've stayed at the Bellagio. I've stayed at the MGM Grand. I have stayed at the Venetian. I feel like a Treasure Island. I have stayed at a lot of different places. Wow. Yeah. We also stayed at a place like not an Airbnb, but like a really small little hotel off of the Vegas Strip when we went to go to that wedding. That was really cute and fun. But I do remember, was it the Bellagio? Was that the one where they have the gondola rides?
That's the Venetian.
The Venetian. Yes. Right. I remember thinking, wow, this is really impressive, fake, but impressive. And when I went to Italy, like it actually looked pretty darn close. I mean, I'm pretty darn close. And I think what's so impressive about any of the hotels is just how it's done every little detail, right? Like the temperature inside the casino is just right. And there's no clocks anywhere. So you lose track of time and all of your needs can be met. Like you don't need to go anywhere. You can just hang out. So that is really interesting, but I can't think of a favorite that I've stayed at. Honestly, they all kind of blend the same, except for Treasure Island. I think that kind of had a pirate theme.
I think they changed that. Yeah.
They changed it, right?
So
yeah, that's one of the things that I'm really fascinated about as I learn more about the trends of Vegas and how often all the hotels are retrofitted and how it seems like right now there's this mix of no theme. The theme is just it's real nice to extremely lightly themed like Art Deco or generally Italy versus the like all in bonkers themed. We're trying to convince you you're in a pyramid. We're trying to convince you you're in Paris.
And a castle with King Arthur.
That's
right. Yes. We're trying to convince you that there was a gift shop in this Norman castle or whatever. Did you have a preference between those levels of sort of there's no theme, it's just nice, to lightly themed to bonkers themed?
I don't know. I just remember one of the hotels where it has like a blue sky at the top. You're like walking through by this like food court. Which one?
Well, Paris has that, and then Caesars has that, and there may be others by now. Yeah.
It's really disorienting, and I don't know. I don't like any of them. I don't.
What about the Wynn? Have you been into the Wynn or the?
Yes, I think I have.
Okay.
I think that the Wynn is pretty nice, right?
It's nice. It's both nice and faux nice, right? It's faux luxury, faux luxury.
It's luxury themed, but not actually luxury.
The prices are very much real, but it's luxury themed is a great way to look at it. You might be up for a Park MGM run. Oh, by the way, another mistake you said, and this would cause fights with me and my good pals Christian Rivacamba and Mark Ellis, is the pool. I do not go to pools in Vegas. There's more
No.
things to do than sit around a pool. I did it one time at Red Rock, which is out at the time. My cousin was working for them and set me up for 4 days in 2012. I went there for like 4 days by myself, and I had a cabana at the pool by myself. She was the corporate beverage manager, and she came over, checked in with me, and gave me like 9 drinks. I said, "Could you try these all? These are the sugariest, cocktail crazy drink." I almost died.
Oh my God.
Because I was out there by myself in the heat in this cabana drinking, Mai Tais with all these silly names, and I never recovered. It was something. So yeah, nuts to all that, Jen.
I hate the pool. I hate the pool in general. Like, I don't ever go swimming.
Yeah.
I don't like the beach. Like, so yeah, when I was dragged to the pool, I was like, this is my worst nightmare. People are drinking in there, and then they don't go to the bathroom. So you have to wonder,
And there's Park MGM. Across the street is the MGM Grand, the newer one, and it's got the lazy river. And Ellis and Ruvalcaba and their friends and Cody Hall are obsessed with the lazy river. And so every time we go, you have to like reserve it, and you get in the inner tubes and you float, and it sounds great. But you're right, everyone, and they were telling the story of every time, because you go a lap, right? And you can walk, you can just kind of, and every time they pass a lady and she'd have like Coronas, and she'd give them a high five. There you are. And like every time they passed, she was more and more drunk there. And I like that. And the sweltering heat, that's not for me. That's not for me.
No.
I brought my swimsuit because I really wanted to swim in the weird, super bisected Luxor swimming pool, and we poked our heads in and looked in it on the way out. And I don't know if it's always been there, but the pools all had a bunch of little concrete islands in them, and almost everybody was just kind of floating there, looking at their phones. It was again that contrast of like luxury, swim in a Vegas swimming pool, and people are on there just calling each other a-holes on Twitter or whatever. Hilarious.
That same lady, she kept high-fiving people, and this was a couple of years ago. So this is one of the, you should be wearing masks point of life, right? And maybe you still should, but so Mark didn't high five her, he fist bumped her, and she just yelled for the entire MGM Grand to hear, "Liberal!" as he floats by.
No.
So, avoid the pool. I'm just saying avoid the pool.
Yeah, the pools are a choice. I am my favorite hotel I've stayed at of the 3. Is the Luxor. I will stop talking about it at some point, but I told this story briefly last episode, so I'll keep it short. But like I knew exactly what I was getting into. My grandma had gone there when it was brand new, and it was burrowed into my mind because she would not stop talking about it and yelling about the inclinators. She explained the inclinators to me maybe 15 times in 2 days. It's got inclinators because it's a pyramid. So I was like, I never thought I'd be there. I gotta go there. I read about it. I've heard about it, that it's far south on the strip. It's run down. It's got some issues. People don't like it. Like, I knew all those things. And I got there, and I was so happy with that inclined, weird little room with the bending wall. That is like, I know if I post about this on social media, I'm gonna have to hear everybody's damn opinion. But I was so happy and wanted to share it. And sure enough, some prominent accounts had some opinions about how bad it is. And everybody was like, it's tacky, it's run down, it's haunted. It's like,
it's fun.
I bleeping know. That's why I'm staying here. I didn't think it was the lap of luxury. I thought it was a 30-year-old fake pyramid. One of the comments even said, yeah, I went there and all the walls are like that. Did you look at the outside of the building? Yeah. Do you understand basic spatial geometry?
Thanks for your insight.
Of course they are. It's the point. Anyway, what I really enjoyed about this trip, and it relates to the hotels and now my desire to stay at a bunch of different ones. So we walked around and we checked out different ones. We went to the Venetian because that's where the Sands used to be, and that was like a pilgrimage for me. The Gaga concert was at Park MGM, so we spent a bunch of time in there, and I was like, ooh, okay, I get it. This is nice, unlike our tacky, possibly haunted pyramid. I used to not like Vegas or not like this element of Vegas because it just felt like there's no trace that it knew. Everything is constantly updated, just chasing a trend. And then I had that but that's actually really fascinating because the whole strip then becomes, we're all very familiar with chasing trends from, podcasts, social media, being influencers and looking at the history of those buildings, updating for millions of dollars every 2 years in what appears to be a weird arms race to just have the most hotel rooms and to try to figure out, what do people who gamble or families who are going to bring their kids, what do they want now? What do they like now? Do you like lightly themed, classy Italian, or do you want a neon clown yelling at you? We don't know. And so the whole strip to me on this visit appeared like a bunch of influencers trying out different trends on TikTok, except it costs millions and millions of dollars to try. And they're just like, will this make you like us the most? And that sense of constant evolution then became fascinating and interesting to me, and it makes me want to go. I want to stay at the tackiest, crappiest you got, and I want to stay at the highest end, allegedly fancy, and experience this sort of taste arms race.
Which one of these casinos is the reaction video? Which one of them is the dance video? Which one of them is the challenge video? Oh, it's amazing.
Which is I actually don't like the popular show. Martin Short actually isn't funny. The hotel.
Oh, God. I'm saying we're going to move on here, but I'm obsessed. I'm gonna find the casino style that Jen would be comfortable at. I'm gonna find it. And the other one of my biggest points is that I think Joseph, you and I were talking off air before you went. Is like, you travel around, if your car is there, you can ride, go Fremont and everything, but you usually focus around the block of casinos you're at. And that kind of that kind of takes a lot of the need for that constant, like, oh, we gotta go here, we gotta go here. Like the 4 or 5 casinos around you are kind of where you live for those 4 or 5 days or 2 days that you're there. And that to me, cuts out a lot of the BS too as well. So I'm going to find that cluster of casinos for you.
It might be staying up at the Fremont experience because there's history, there's neon. They've turned it into that sort of town hall, basically, kind of that, where there are lots of, legitimate family activities as well as the casino. So you can kind of get a lot of it.
They got
there, I think.
Great gambling for kids. It's
those underground slot machines. Nah, I don't think they have those yet. Underwater, you can swim to them. Let's talk about actual gambling. Jen, I want to start with you. In your mixed to bad adventures in Vegas, have you personally done any gambling?
I have. I've done slots. I've done blackjack. And the worst was I'm not a very good blackjack player. I don't even know if I remember how to play it. And the whole table was mad at me because I was like, what do I do? I was that person, not well liked. But the biggest thing that I realized is that I don't like to waste. Like, I want to go shopping. I would rather spend my money than lose all of it. And the thing is, like, the gratification is like, there's not there. Like, I could lose it within 1 second, $100. Like, at least let me like get the thrill of online shopping or purchasing something from Amazon. Like, I get more of a thrill from that than I do from like the disappointment of just like, I just lost $200. So, but I do find it fascinating to watch other people play and lose their money. Especially if the person has a lot of money to lose and they just look like it's like no big deal to them. Or if they're like professionals, right? Like the professional poker players, like that's really, really fascinating. I don't like seeing it when somebody clearly has an addiction to gambling and they're clearly like losing like potentially their home. Like that's it's upsetting to me. And I don't like that. So yeah, that's where I am with gambling.
Yeah, no, I understand. I joke about it, but I truly do. There's some things with my grandma was like, oh, now I understand. That was not good. Yeah. So, Ken, actually, you know what? I want to end with you because I think you probably have the most to say.
I am going to suggest, Jen, you stay again at Treasure Island because the fashion show is across the street, the largest mall out in that area, and it's it's not quite the one in Minneapolis, but go there.
Oh,
good to know.
Anyways, yeah, we'll do a Mall of America episode about the mall there in Minnesota. Anyway, Jen, I'm with you. Of like, I have done a tiny amount of gambling, and it's just like, there are too many things that I like to spend money on that are already dubious, like action figures and the mounds of books that are going to fall on me and end my life one of these days. That to just kind of throw it away feels like but I want the experience and I want the allure. So like this trip in particular is like, I'm gonna find a machine I like, and I'm gonna spend $5 on it, and that's it. And I am not, there's gonna be no hope or fear. I'm just putting $5 in this machine I'm paying for $5 of entertainment. I'm paying for an experience. I'm not in any way attempting to win or lose. I don't care. I'm not gonna be drawn in by it was my attitude. On our last morning there, I had scoped out a couple of fun themed, slot machines. There's a Linda Carter Wonder Woman one.
Yeah.
There's a Frankenstein one that had all this scary lightning. But then I found the perfect one. There was, and they're all digital now. There was this giant flashing digital Dean Martin slot machine.
Oh.
And the things that came up were like the Capitol Records Tower and like the Dean with a showgirl and a vinyl album. And it was, it had a big cartoon picture of Dean Martin that at first I thought didn't move. And then I stared at it for a while and it would blink and then it would kind of bobble its head like old flash animation. It was like creepy and uncanny and awful. And if it was Sinatra, I'd feel a little bit bad because Sinatra's family actually would never allow that. But Dean Martin had a real, like, everything in life is kind of funny to me. I don't care. If it makes me some bucks, I don't care, So this was like a machine that he'd be like, great, cool. I don't care. I'm glad my kids are making money off that. Go for it. And I really enjoyed it as the experience of I'm paying for the entertainment of sitting at this machine, not actually playing it. And my wife and I are talking about it of like, she had been there many years ago, and I don't know if there's still nickel slots. And I was like, that would be fun to just find machines that you want to look at and totally think of it that way of like, what's the cheapest one we can find so we can just look at this machine and not get into the winning or losing. Right. Someday I'm going to refresh myself on blackjack so I can sit at the table and not have people hate me. That's my future dream. Yeah. Ken, I've watched you go through the stages of grief. I took a lot of pictures. I took other pictures for you of like if Ken was at the Luxor with me, here's where he would be sitting. No, it was very fun and you really did go through a gamut of emotions. And a decent amount of money. What is your approach to gambling? What is your philosophy?
First of all, it's not just a ForceCenter caveat. Yeah, gambling is a real addiction, and I don't have any family issues with it. But I watched a coworker of mine nearly sink the security company we work for by his gambling addiction, both to betting on sports and all that stuff. So not just a caveat; it's a real thing, and I say that. Anything I say here respects that reality. But yeah, here's how I approach it. You just said something that's real true. If you're going to Vegas and you want to experience this, but you're paying for the experience to sit down. And that's why I like doing it around people, having you getting excited. You remember that trip. I was like, oh, Joseph, we're going to hit those Game of Thrones slots. We're going to find those Lord of the Rings slots. And there's some fun to it. And yeah, I love the Wheel of Fortune slots too, because they get you when you hit that magic spin and it starts chanting Wheel of Fortune, and you hear that when you're checking into the hotel. And my friends are like, Ken, calm down. So when we were at the Gold Coast, they have the old Lord of the Rings slots, which I think are very, very hard to find. They're digital slots, but they're very hard to find. So there's newer versions that are kind of fun. The older versions were pretty simple, and you could either play as the good guys or the bad guys. And so we were here for the pro wrestling convention. So my friends and I would call it, heels and faces, and they're always side by side. And we go up to the Gold Coast, and long story short, you're trying to get rings. If you get 3 rings, you get to spin again. And if you get like Frodo, you get 9 more spins, and you could like build spins, right? And the other side is the Eye of Sauron. And instead of rings, you're trying to get these eyes. And they were this particular, you could play up to $1, but we would play with nickels or penny slot. So exactly what you're talking about, Joseph. We one particular night, we had so much fun, and we were gathered around a couple of wrestlers. My good friend Paul, who's a very loud Italian, and my other friend, he was a pro wrestler I managed. His ring name was Whiskey Fist McIntosh, and so that shows a lot of what he was. And they just were having so much fun. I wasn't even playing; I was with them. And they're screaming, and they're like, "Go rings!" And one of my friends, he hit 2 Frodos within one spin. That was like 18 additional spins, and they did win money, but it was like nickel slots. But you can go up to $1, and security was watching us. They were coming up closer. I started getting a little nervous. But my friend Paul was a cop. He's like, "I'll talk to them. It doesn't worry about it." And people were gathering around, and the next morning, people came up to us, and the security guy walked up to us, and we thought, "Oh, they're going to talk to us." And the guy went, "How did it finish up last night? I had to go off shift. You guys are talking like a casino." And that's kind of it for me. We're like, I set a budget. I usually pull $300 cash out before, and at the end, and Grace will tell you, at the end of every night, I'll go to the room and I'll just like I'm pretending like I'm a mobster. I just put all I count it out, and am I up? Am I down? Am I up? Am I down? So I try to check myself that way. But it's the experience. It's the community around it. And that's why I like doing it. And that's why I like my first pull of the trip is usually like, all right, Joseph, we're going to do this. I Wheel of Fortune slot. I'm going to put 20 in. Like, this is the first one of the trip. And it is the experience. Do I ever think I'm going to win money? I think one time on one spin, I won $450. And yay, that I'm chasing that high ever since, I guess, but it doesn't exist. As far as other stuff, I'm with you. I actually trained my uncle, my late uncle taught me blackjack. He used to go over to his house in Eagle Rock, and I'd be like, all right, my next Vegas trip, I'm going to go to the dealer. I can't, I'm like you, Jen, like I'm going to mess this up. Even though I know the rules pretty good, I'm going to be the one the table's going to jump in the alley. So I continue for the most part, which is a good way to just hang out. It's not about even about making money. The Park Game Gym is a great bank of video blackjack. And me, Mark, and the pals, everyone, we just hung around for hours, just no one losing big money, no one winning big money, just hanging out, having fun, laughing. And that's what I love about it. If you can stop there. But Joseph's right. There's been times where I'm like, we're going again. We're going again. I'm watching my $80 go down and we're going again. Because Cersei, we're going to hit that Cersei bonus or the dragons are going to fly in and I'm going to win today. And it doesn't happen.
Well, as we have mentioned a little bit on the podcast, you were going through some life woes on that visit, and it felt like you were looking to Frodo for a little comfort.
Yes, yeah, yes. Frodo needed to help me. I needed Galadriel to show up and give me the line.
Yes, you did, and this is what I love too. Of like, oh, I love Lord of the Rings. There's a story connection. What am I trying to do? Get more rings. The thing Frodo's desperately trying to get rid of.
And the music starts blaring. You could turn the volume up. Just dun, 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 and it's so great. I want to go. I'm going.
So great. Love it. We'll go to the blackjack table. We'll study up. Let's talk about shows. This is a part of the Vegas that I became obsessed with. I was just, reading some various book blurbs on more books I want to read about that 60s era when the shows were the reason to go. And once they had you there, then you gambled. But there wasn't anywhere near as much of Vegas there. I've talked before about the great Dean Martin album they released in like the 2000s of an old recording that was way too edgy to be released, back in the 60s, where he does this long rambling concert for famous people. And then at the end he says, well, I'm done. I got to stop because they're all in the casino. They're waiting for you and they're going to tear you apart. There's like no joke to it. It's like the shows are what draws you, and then they want to get it. The shows are cheap to see a famous star at the time, and then they got you, and you're gonna gamble. But it's the shows that were there. And the thing I was reading today, like now it's a little bit more of like go to the playground and maybe you see a show, maybe you don't. They're more expensive. They're all that stuff. So part of what I always wanted to experience out of Vegas was the shows. So I definitely want to talk about those. Jennifer, have you ever been to a show, and did it scratch any of that old Vegas desire for you?
I have not seen any old Vegas style shows. I saw Jennifer Lopez, which was a lot of fun. I went with some friends. We also went to I think it was either an Everlast or House of Pain concert because my friend was dating one of the members.
Wow.
So that was kind of fun. But my favorite show, which was not in the casino area, but I've mentioned it before, was the Grateful Dead at the Sam Boyd Silver Bowl, 1995. And I had forgotten this. I had to look it up. Dave Matthews Band opened for them.
Right.
And yes. And it was one of not the last shows, but Jerry Garcia died in August of that year. So this was in May. So that was the last time I saw them. And it was so freaking fun. They had misters in the concert area because it was so hot since it's Vegas. People were dancing. The parking lot was popping. Like it just was, it was magical. And that was, I think, my favorite Vegas experience. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Although Jennifer Lopez was fun too.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Ken, is that a big part of your Vegas experience to go to shows? And if so, what's the best thing you've seen?
Yeah, it's not. I am trying to get out to see the Gaga Jazz thing. I was hoping to do this time and just couldn't make it happen. So I'm sure she'll be back. She loves doing those shows. Other than that, no, I've been to one show, 2006. I'm going to read the description of the show here. The show was called Bite. The story is told through action, dance, and the use of some classic rock and roll songs, more than 40 in all. Bite takes its audience on the Lord Vampire's quest for his long-lost love, who he has to convince and seduce into becoming his eternal queen of the night. Aiding the Lord Vampire's coven of sultry and nimble dancers, the erotic rock angels. I was at the Stratosphere for about 10 years. It was a topless dance review show. And we were there for a wedding. And one of our friends who was also in town that week was like, hey, my friend, he's starring in the show as the Lord Vampire. So we're like, okay, we'll go. And I'm glad I went. I'll describe some of it off air. It just was everything you don't want Vegas shows to be. And it was so bad, but I'm glad I got to experience Lord Vampire and the erotic rock angels of the show Bite.
That is so funny to me because a lot of, discussion of horror is, obviously plenty of horror movies have, gratuitous nudity and all that, but a lot of, if you're discussing like, why are we attracted to the darkness? Why are we attracted to vampires? What are all the different psychosexual readings of the vampire myth? And the show you're describing on should have been called An Attack on Subtlety. Like there's nothing subtle about it. Like, hey, I'm Lord Topless, and here's my dancers.
12 topless dancers around Lord Vampire as they all sang, "Here we go again on our own." It's amazing.
It's so awful. If you had written that as a bit, I would believe that you made it up.
It's the best. Oh, God.
Absolutely amazing. I'll try to keep my Gaga reminiscence short because I talked about it last episode. It's the only show I've been to. I'd like to go to more shows. I want to go to shows, but I don't want to pay a ton of money unless it's something I want to see. And it was very, very expensive. Anyway, so Lady Gaga has this 12-night residency. She's done it other years. This year it's been 12 nights. It's at the Park MGM. Which has this newer venue called the Dolby Live attached to it, which is a 5,000-seat theater. And they're bragging, because you have to brag about anything you do in Vegas, that it's the longest stage in Vegas, which sounds funny, but it means that everybody is closer to the stage. And I always wanted to go to a show in Vegas and never really thought I would get the experience to hear that music and that kind of music. I knew I could see jazz shows or, frankly, Michael Bublé or all that. But apologies to any Michael Bublé fans out there. I feel like he does a kind of music that makes people not like swing. It's and safe. And in my opinion, he, instead of honoring Bennett and Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald, who all came up with unique and amazing phrasing on classics, he just does theirs, in my opinion. That might have been the most offensive thing I've ever said on ForceCenter, and might have Michael Bublé fans coming at me. So I didn't ever want to see that kind of swing or jazz in Vegas because it would be like this sad imitation. What was so beautiful to me about the Lady Gaga concert is it was a chance for me to finally experience a little bit of the thrill and the romance of living and experiencing the Vegas that I never will. But it was also utterly modern and new and hers. I love so many old things, but I don't just want to live in the past. So this concert was getting to experience the past while not denying the present. Not only did she do some of her own songs, which was amazing, she took a lot of the traditions of those Rat Pack shows of going on a little personal monologue that was naughty. That you didn't get to hear that famous person. Like, it's not like, Gaga's some super reserved person. She said some things at this concert that were personal and intimate and were a little bit more like, this is just for you here in Vegas, where we go wild. There's a grand tradition of those singers of changing up the lyrics to either be naughty or be more edgy or to be more specific to the venue. The first song she did was "Luck Be a Lady," which is perfect. Song Sinatra, really put his stamp on. And there's a line in that song that's "Stick with me, baby. I'm the fella you came in with." And she changed it to "Stick with me, Vegas. I'm the lady you came in for." It's like, that's perfect. There's a song called "I Can't Give You Anything But Love" that has, this very outdated lyric of "Diamond bracelets Woolworths ain't going to sell to you, baby." I'm like, yeah, of course. We all know Woolworths, if they still exist, don't sell. But she changed it to "Diamond bracelets Elon Musk ain't going to sell to you, baby." It was like this great little knife job. So she did all of these traditions, but entirely made them her own. And it was just this, not only was it just a great concert with just like blowing all of the cobwebs off of swing and jazz, it was just like wild and infectious and exciting, but it was this spirit of old and new. And she also, for her costume changes, had these little videos that were going through the history of Vegas. And it was exactly how we like to talk about things on ForceCenter. She had the thematic analysis of what Vegas was and should be, and talked about how Vegas is part of it is the fun of the debauchery, but there also can be glamour. And I want to bring a little glamour back because that's Vegas, glamour and debauchery. It was beautiful.
It's not pleated denim shorts and fanny packs. Get out of here.
Is that glamour or debauchery? We can debate.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to finally see that show.
Yeah. And there's some parts I'll tell you off air that I was like, man, I wish Grace would love that specific bit. So
sounds better than Bite.
I think it had a little bit more class. A little bit more class than Bite.
Here I go. Get him, man.
All right. We're moving into the territory of supersized ForceCenter, so we'll head toward our conclusion of the last couple of questions. Yeah. Ken, what's the best meal you've had in Vegas?
I couldn't remember. I tell you what, I can't remember anything specific. It is always the people around, whether it's we were one time at a 1950s themed diner, and what used to be there was the Hooters Casino, which was the only place I found a Star Wars themed a slot machine. It's no longer there. The whole thing's not there anymore. But it was just like it was 30, and my friends are hanging out, and we're in weekend in town for the weekend for my friend's wedding. And we were just eating bad diner food, but my friend ordered a plate of nachos and said, "You know what? Do you dare me to stick my face in this?" We all went, "Of course we do," and he did. And the guacamole got in his eyes, the salsa got in his eyes, and no one kicked us out of the restaurant. And it just like I have more memories of that. I don't remember what I had. There's some nice meal. I like going to that Fireside Lounge at the Peppermill because it's a quiet thing, but the food is what it is. So again, it's much for me, much like the gambling. It's the people around you, right? Sitting in Fridays at a bar, listening to Jim Ross talk to Rob Van Dam and Greg the Hammer Valentine and share wrestling stories while I eat some mozzarella sticks that burn my throat is a better meal than and I've gone to some of the, hey, we have a reservation at 8 and thank God you won $400 on the slot machine because that's going to cover half the meal. Like I've done those.
Yes.
And those can be fun too because it's all around it. So I don't mean to cheat on that answer, but that's really it. Like I sitting with you, Joseph, in a hotel bar that wasn't even themed, just me bemoaning my horrible love life. Like I have more positive memories about that than any fancy meal. So it's all out there.
Oh, that's great. I loved going to the buffet in Luxor because I'd never done that, and the bizarre, Egyptian theme. The Coptic jars with organs in them right next to your food is a pretty amazing contrast. But the thing I picked was actually the worst thing, because as I got farther away, I was like, but that's kind of the Vegas experience. So, after the Gaga concert, we really wanted to hang out, and we had a couple drinks. We found some pizza slices at something in the New York casino which were great. And then my wife wanted one more treat, and she spotted these onion rings at this little kind of dive place. And it's like, great. And I just was like, I'm full. I don't need any more food, but I should get something because it's Vegas. And I got a bacon wrapped hot dog at like 2:30 a.m. And like the first bite I took, I was like, this is a terrible mistake.
No.
And I ate the entire thing, and it didn't do anything horrible to me, except for just like it robbed my mouth of even the memory of moisture. I had dreams. I woke up in the morning after like 3 hours of sleep, and my mom was like, how did you sleep? It's like, I had weird dreams about a bacon wrapped hot dog for 3 hours. But in a way, that's Vegas, baby. So that was my favorite. Jennifer, did you enjoy any meal in Vegas?
I had to really think about this because my answer was no. But then I remembered I went to Margaritaville.
Wasting away.
Yes. And you know what? I think because I had such low expectations for the food and the whole experience, it was awesome. I don't remember. I might have had like a Caesar salad, or maybe I had like a chicken sandwich. And I know I had French fries, I'm sure. And that was delicious. I had a margarita. It was good. There was some live entertainment. That to me was fun. I like that part of Vegas, which kind of felt like a rainforest cafe now that I think about it. But yeah, that was good. I don't know how Margaritaville food is now, although I don't know if I'd enjoy it. Who knows? I think it was a Vegas experience.
Yeah. Did you have a cheeseburger in Paradise, Nevada?
No, I've had cheeseburgers in Paradise in Hawaii. Yeah, but I don't really eat cheeseburgers. I eat turkey burgers. So
Turkey burger in Paradise would be a great Weird Al song.
Yeah.
All right, we're heading toward our conclusion here. This is something my wife asked me on our drive home as we're trying to stay awake. Ken, if you could design and build a themed Vegas resort, what would your theme be?
Look, I'm just going to take a little swing into that area we love. The Bright Tree Village Casino. That just would be so bad that it would be great. But for right now, I lean to the ones that aren't super themed. But if we could tie in, like, really intentionally tie in a little bit of the 40s, 50s history of Vegas combined with the 40s, 50s history of Hollywood, and that kind of group of folks. Like put a fake Musso and Frank in there, put a fake Brown Derby, smokehouse, all those restaurants we talk about, where I would feel, because I don't do it as much now, but I used to suit and tie around Vegas, right? I
cool.
wouldn't hit the floor, not all the time, because it's quite frankly inconvenient and hard to pack all that stuff. But so I would break that back out for going to this casino.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Hollywood in Vegas. I had two ideas when I was talking about this with my wife. She wanted to force one, so very much like your idea. I think it would be really funny to have a Vegas-themed hotel where one hotel just rips off everybody else on the strip.
Oh my gosh!
Has a little pyramid and a little, Paris, Eiffel Tower, all that. But the one I think would be funny. But then I'm also like, would this actually work if you had everything that the normal resort with the casino and the pool and the buffet and everything has, but it was all calm. It was like a meditation themed hotel called Soft.
I like that.
And the big stars in the concert hall are all, ASMR artists, and the slot machines are lit by salt lamps, and when you hit the button, it just makes little flowing river noises.
Love this.
Yeah. Love this. Jen, how about you? What is your themed Vegas resort you'd build?
I would love a retro sci-fi casino hotel. So like Sputnik chandeliers, like very kitschy, very Forbidden Planet. You know what I mean? Like that kind of retro futurism kind of thing. I think it's like the perfect place. Vegas is the perfect place for that kind of environment. But then I was thinking, I mean, what was that? The Star Wars. I'm going to mention it. The Star Wars cruise ship thing. I actually think if they had set that concept in Vegas, that would have been genius.
Yeah.
Genius, right?
That Star Trek experience I never got to it. A bunch of my friends did. It was incredibly popular for a long time. And that was the same kind of immersion. You could pretend you were at the bar.
Yes, I did. I went to the restaurant and that was pretty fun. That was pretty fun, I will say. Yeah.
Oh, I want a time machine. That is a great, man. Out of all of our ideas, I'm booking yours first, Jen.
No, thanks.
As we're wrapping up here, my initial closing question here was: after an ideal trip, when you're leaving Vegas, what do you feel? But feel free to interpret it however you'd like as we wrap up our Vegas adventure. So, Jennifer, I'll start with you. After a trip, when you're leaving Vegas, what do you want to feel?
I remembered one many, many years ago. I shot a commercial for the Latin Grammys, and it was really, really fun. We shot in the downtown area at night, and I got to pretend like I was on a red carpet. It was so much fun. And because I was there for work, I think I had pretty good food. I think I ate like some nice sushi place, and I just felt so euphoric when I left. I really felt like I had accomplished something exciting for myself. And I felt like energized, because every other time that I've left Vegas, I have felt terrible and like sleep deprived, right? Yeah. I've eaten terribly. Or maybe I've drank too much, whatever it is. But that experience, I really left like on a high, so to speak.
Oh, that is great. And that sounds like just like so much fun to be able to sort of walk through the glamour and actually be glamorous.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Oh, that's amazing. Ken, we'll end with you. After this last trip, it was kind of great because it was so short that it was the classic leave them wanting more. And I can totally see, the wisdom of 2, maybe 3 days, and then you're done. So for me, I think always having the trip a little bit shorter than I would want, and feeling both exhausted and having a list of what you're going to do next time is the perfect thing for me. You have left Vegas far more than all of us. So after an ideal trip, what do you feel?
That we did it. That I leave town with no regrets, that I know I'll be back. And it's been a couple of years now. And it seems cheesy, but I remember each trip by the Venetian trip, the Paris trip, the Park MGM trip, the Gold Coast trips, or the CAC trips are entirely different and interesting in their own right. The Rio trip, Grace and I did go out one time. We just stayed out at the Rio, which used to be the cream of the crop, but now it's like $70 a night. Please come stay there, and it's actually kind of fun. And as you're heading out, and reality kicks in about Prim. Or the outlet center I stop, which has a great convenient bathroom. That's a good tip I'll share with you all too. Then you get back to reality. And I love driving. People love flying. One of my friends loves, taking JetBlue X, which is almost a, JetBlue private plane kind of situation. It's a 30-minute flight. I like the drive. I like contemplating and anticipating there, and I like contemplating and separating on the way back. And for me, it's easy. We live in LA. Not everyone has that option. I understand.
Yeah, but the drive is really nice. The anticipation and then the processing.
Yes.
Just be careful of all the screws.
Screws and drive. And Sundays are real. I once that trip that your tire blew. I was about 8.5 hours on the drive back to Vegas, which is not fun.
Ooh, yeah, no.
Hours. Oh.
Yeah. Either what you do is either you gut it out and you leave at 6 a.m. on Sunday, or you just stay to Monday.
Ooh.
Yep. We left on Monday night, and it was 4 hours. Yeah. 4 hours. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for going with us on this surprise journey to Vegas. We always learn a lot about ourselves, and as always, we want to remind you that we're sharing our opinions. We know that this is a rich topic with lots of perspectives, and in particular, again, my apologies to Michael Bublé fans. Ken, do you want to take us home?
Look, you didn't say he's not talented. You don't gravitate towards music, and
he's not for me. And people might really disagree with my strong opinion about his phrasing.
His Christmas albums are nice. I actually like his Christmas albums, I will say.
Well, I can see liking I would probably like his Christmas albums more because
yes.
The goal of those is to feel homey and
warm
safe.
and
Unlike a saloon song or a swinger where you want to feel a little bit of edge, like the wheels can fall off.
Right. Yeah.
I don't need to see. Actually, I would like to hear a version of White Christmas where he feels like, "What's this guy up to? The wheels are going to come off. This is danger."
Look, we can all agree it's better than the cast singing Here I Go Again around on
oh my
goodness.
All right, take us home.
We're out of here. We're ForceCenter and OtherCenter right now. You can find us on Twitter, Hive, and Threads at ForceCenter Pod and ForceCenter, I think, on Hive if you're there. If you're there. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. Instagram is where you can also find us, and YouTube, like Joseph said up top, we're making a drive for 8,000 subscriptions. Head over there. You can be part of our live Q&As that are monthly. Podcasts available in a lot of spots. Just search to find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter and patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us and get into the exclusive live streams. We just did that Life Ranked. It's going to be released to the public this week, but we had a lot of fun with our live Patreon audience there. Find me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com. Traveling to New York for some shows Thursday and Friday, August 12th, 13th. Oh, I got to look up those dates. I have the hotels. I'm definitely going to be there. Me, Mark Ellis, at the New York Comedy Club in the East Village. More information coming. Jen, where can they find and follow you? And maybe don't worry about tweeting Jen Vegas tips. I'll be doing that. I'll be emailing tips. It's all right. Jen, where can they find you?
I look forward to that. You can find me on TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm back at Jennifer Landa. And this week, I'm going to be sharing my deep dive into the behind-the-scenes drama of Lisa Frank. So stay tuned for that.
There you go. I cannot wait for that, Joseph. We're going to find, follow, and argue with you over Michael Bublé.
Yes, you can politely tell me your Michael Bublé opinions with emphasis on politely on all the social media. I'm at Joseph Scrimshaw, trying to spend some more time on Blue Sky and Instagram in particular. So come find me over there at those places. The festival run, hopefully it's a run and not just a few, but I don't know. But the planes, the screenings of the short horror film worked on with a bunch of great people. The film is called The Nightmare Adorable. It is going to be in Portland, Oregon at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival the weekend of October 6th through the 8th. I will be there for that one. It is also playing at a festival I can now announce, Halloween-a-Palooza in Ottumwa, Iowa. And it is going to be screened at midnight, Friday, October 13th into Saturday, October 14th. The way these film festivals run is I'll hear about, I think about 8 different festivals I applied to this week. I'll just be going about life and I'll get a little email that says judging status has changed.
That's so cool.
And I'll open it up and find out. But it did get into a third festival. I'm waiting for that one scheduled to come out to announce that. But if you're in Iowa, near Ottumwa, which is the city, feel free to check it out at HalloweenPalooza.com. And then, of course, the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland, Oregon. More information coming. That is it for now. Take us home, Ken.
That is it. We're out of here. So go ahead and pull those slot machine arms responsibly, everyone, but have some fun. We'll see you next time here on OtherCenter.